How do you know which champion to main in League of Legends? In this video, I will help you decide which fighter to main. Choose a champion that has a kit that you like and you think will be fun to play. If none of these champions interest you, maybe fighters aren't right for you. We'll split every fighter into one of three categories. The first category is the attack speed and/or critical strike fighters. These champions are Aatrox, Jax, Kayle, Master Yi, Olaf, Trundle, Tryndamere, Udyr, Volibear, Warwick, and Xin Zhao. Here's a rundown for all of them, and if you like the champion's kit, then try them out. Aatrox is a tanky champion that is based around auto-tagging and attack speed. He has 1.5 lives with his passive and beats nearly anyone in a 1v1. He has some decent AoE damage in his kit, and he costs 6300 IP or 975 RP. Jax is a split pusher with high burst damage. He dishes out a lot of damage and takes towers really quickly. However, he is not very good in teamfights, so it is best to just push the side lanes. He costs 1350 IP or 585 RP. Kayle is a great teamfighter and is easy to play. Intervention makes her a very forgiving champion while dealing tons of AoE range damage. She costs 450 IP or 260 RP. Master Yi is a powerful champion that can carry games hard. He has great teamfights if you use his Q strategically. He is simple and is a great champion in general. He costs 450 IP or 260 RP. Olaf has the ability to go straight into the backline in a fight and can't be stopped by crowd control. The more damage he takes, the more damage he does. He can stay alive for a long time and deal a lot of damage. He costs 3150 IP or 790 RP. Trundle usually builds Blade of the Ruined King and has his W for attack speed. He can get extremely tanky with his ult and can melt tanks. He is very good at 1v1ing and pounds anyone in his way. He costs 4800 IP or 880 RP. Tryndamere has the best 1v1s in the game, but is also a powerhouse in teamfights. He melts towers and serves as a good frontliner. He costs 1350 IP or 585 RP. Udyr is a fighter with crazy attack speed and can completely melt towers. He is simple, yet is very effective and strong. He costs 1350 IP or 585 RP. Volibear is an unkillable machine that can be very powerful in low elo. He dominates mid-game and can pound enemies. Volibear has massive AoE damage with his ultimate, and he barely ever dies with his passive. He costs 4800 IP or 880 RP. Warwick is a simple champion that does nothing but auto-attack you to death. He thrives late game and can survive easily with his insane mobility. He costs 450 IP or 260 RP. Xin Zhao is like Jax. Bad teamfights, melts towers, and has great 1v1s. He is very easy and can carry games very hard. He costs 1350 IP or 585 RP. The next category is bruisers. They are the champions that you go up in a fight and deal a lot of damage, but you're still tanky enough so that you don't die. First up is Darius. He is a simple, medium-risk, high-reward champion. He deals massive damage while also being very tanky. He has low mana costs and even has a reset on his ultimate. He costs 400 IP or 880 RP. Fiora is a high mechanic champion that can be amazing if mastered and played properly. She requires a lot of decision making but can dish out a ton of damage. She costs 400 IP or 880 RP. Gnar is an interesting champion. He can be a marksman in mini form, but a crowd control full tank in mega form. Learning to manage his rage and controlling when he can turn to mega form might be a little bit hard, but he is still a very good champion to pick. He costs 6300 IP or 975 RP. Hecarim is a tanky fighter that can burst people down decently quickly. His Q helps him win 1v1s, and his AoE fear in his ult helps him in teamfights. His only difficulty is decision making, so he is overall not that hard to play. He costs 400 IP or 880 RP. Illaoi is a medium risk high reward champion. She is dependent on skill shots, but she does a lot of AoE damage for teamfights and for lane. She costs 6300 IP or 975 RP. Irelia requires high decision making because of her long cooldowns. In lane, it is important to farm well and get ahead. She is a monster when fed. She costs 400 IP or 880 RP. Jarvan can get into fights very easily and do a lot of damage before dying. He is very useful in teamfights and in lane. He costs 400 IP or 880 RP. Kled is a high risk, high reward champion that is very good at going into fights, but not the best at getting out. If you love to go ham, then you'll love this guy. He requires some decision making and some timing. He costs 6300 IP or 975 RP. Lee Sin is a high mechanical champion. He is a jungler that has insane early game ganking and dueling, but a very weak late game if not ahead. He costs 4800 IP or 880 RP. Mordekaiser is an AP bruiser. He deals insane burst damage and is very easy to play. He can even get a pet dragon or have an enemy champion fight for you. He costs 3150 IP or 795 RP. Nasus requires some serious farming. If you can't farm, better off not playing this guy. He does insane damage late game and he is very boring in the early game. High risk, high reward. If you like this kind of champion, play him. He costs 1350 IP or 585 RP. Pantheon is a very easy champion that can do a lot of damage with his ult in teamfights or block a lot of damage with his passive in lane. He dominates the early and mid game, falling off a little bit in the late game. He costs 3150 IP or 795 RP. Poppy is a simple champion that is very good in the lane and very good in teamfights. She depends on positioning so she can land the stun on her E, and that's the key to her success. She costs 450 IP or 260 RP. Renekton is the greatest lane bully in the game. He has no one combo, which means experience and decision making is very vital to his success. In teamfights he serves as a tank, but in lane he serves as an assassin. He costs 4800 IP or 880 RP. Riven is one of the hardest champions in the league. If you don't auto-attack cancel properly or quickly enough, her damage is obsolete. High risk, very high reward, and she is a lot of fun to play. She costs 4800 IP or 880 RP. Shyvana is a tanky champion that can do very well in 1v1s because of her insane damage. She is a very medium risk, high reward in low ELOs. She costs 3150 IP or 790 RP. Vi is a very simple champion that highly capitalizes on enemy mispositions. She is mobile and is a great initiator, and she can be very powerful. She costs 6300 IP or 975 RP. Although Wukong isn't the hardest champion, he requires some decision making and some comboing. As long as you know when to fit in auto attacks, he can go into fights easily and not die. High risk, high reward. He costs 400 IP or 880 RP. Yorick is a very difficult champion because he requires setting up his own fights and he has to land his W and his E, which are pretty hard. When you successfully do it, it pays off. He costs 400 IP or 880 RP. The next category are the fighters that go full damage. There aren't many of them, but they are very powerful. First up is Gangplank. He is one of the hardest champions in League because of his barrels. His barrels require a lot of setting up and a lot of practice to do well. He requires constant last hitting and some global map awareness for his ult. If you like difficult champions, Gangplank is for you. He costs 3150 IP or 795 RP. Jace is a fighter with insane burst damage and some true damage. You need to choose when it's best to be a marksman or to be a melee fighter with a lot of damage. This is what makes him difficult to play. He costs 4800 IP or 880 RP. Yasuo is the most popular champion in League. He has infinite dashes and requires full use of them to be effective. He can be very good and can possibly 1v5 teamfights. If you like hard carried champions with high mechanics, Yasuo is perfect for you. He costs 6300 IP or 975 RP.